Hello everyone, welcome to another Tutoring Pros video. Today we're going to be going over operations with exponents. We're going to be going over when we multiply numbers with the same base, divide, and when we have an exponent to an exponent. So first we're going to go over when we have two bases multiplying together. For example, if we have x to the fourth power times x to the third power, what we need to do to simplify this is add the exponents. This will become x to the power of 4 plus 3, which will be x to the power of 7. If we had x to the power of 6 divided by x to the power of 2, we would need to subtract the exponents. This would turn out to be x to the power of 6 minus 2, which is x to the power of 4. If we had x raised to the power of 5 raised to the power of 3, we would need to multiply the two exponents to simplify. This would be x to the power of 5 times 3, or x to the power of 15. Just to go a little bit more in depth, I want to explain how we got to these answers and how we know that when we multiply, we have to add, when we have to divide, we're subtracting, and when we have an exponent to an exponent, we're really multiplying. We'll start off with the first equation that we completed. X to the fourth times x to the third. If we factor this out, we'll show that x to the fourth is x times x times x times x. There's 4 x's. Then this is going to be times x cubed, which is x times x times x. And if you count all of these x's, you will recognize that there's 7 x's in total. With the division question, x to the 6th divided by x squared, we can list all the factors of each of these on the top and on the bottom. So on top, we're going to have 6 x's. And on the bottom, we're going to have 2. If we cancel one on top and one on the bottom, we'll recognize that we're just left with 4 x's on the top. Lastly, x to the 5th raised to the third power. X to the 5th raised to the third power. So this is x to the 5th multiplying by itself 3 times. And if we look at what we did in the first example here, we can see that we'll get x to the power of 15. Now that we have a basic understanding of how operations with exponents work, we'll jump into a few problems. I suggest for you to pause the video and try these on your own before you continue on. A, we have z to the power of 7 times z to the power of 5. When we have two bases multiplying together, all we have to do is add the exponents together. So this will be z to the power of 7 plus 5, which will be z to the power of 12. For part B, we have 27 times y to the power of 12 divided by 3 times y to the power of 8. We can group the numbers together and the y's together. 27 divided by 3 is 9. And for the y's, since we're dividing, we're going to subtract the exponents. So the result will be y to the power of 12 minus 8. This will be 9y to the power of 4. For part C, we have negative 5 times x to the 5th power times 6 times x. Similarly to part B, we're going to group the numbers together and we're going to group the x's together. Negative 5 times 6 is negative 30. And since we're multiplying two bases, x to the fifth and x, we're just going to add the exponents. Our answer for this one will be negative 30 x to the power of 6. For part D, we have the numbers 21 and 7, x and y. 21 divided by 7 is 3. We will have x to the power of 3 minus 1 and y to the power of 7 minus 4. The answer for D will be 3 times x to the power of 2 times y to the power of 3. On this page, we're going to be going over an exponent raised to an exponent along with some multiplication and division thrown in there. Once again, I encourage you to pause the video and try the questions yourself before you see me go through them. So for part A, we have 3 raised to the power of 2 raised to the power of 2. This is simply 3 raised to the power of 2 times 2, since it's an exponent to an exponent, which would be 3 raised to the power of 4. If you don't know, 3 raised to the power of 4 is 81. For part B, we have 5x to the fourth raised to the power of 3. Something that's important is that the exponent on the outside of the parentheses applies to every term on the inside of the parentheses. So when we simplify this, we're going to have 5 to the power of 3 times x to the power of 4 times 3. 5 to the power of 3 is 125. And x raised to the power of 4 times 3 is x raised to the power of 12. C asks negative 2z cubed raised to the power of 2 times 7z all raised to the power of 2. So the first part, we need to make sure that the squared applies to the z and the negative 2. Negative 2 squared is 4. And z raised to the third power raised to the second power is z raised to the power of 3 times 2 times 7 squared is 49. Z squared is z squared. We will simplify before we multiply. 4z to the 6 times 49z squared. When we combine the numbers together, we get 196. And when we combine the z's together, we get z to the power of 6 plus 2. And finally, we'll get 196 z to the power of 8. Last part D. Once again, when we have an exponent outside of the parentheses, it applies to every single term in the parentheses, no matter where it is. This squared will apply to the 8x cubed, y to the fifth, 2x, and y squared. So if we square everything, we'll get 64, x to the power of 6, y to the power of 10, divided by 2 squared is 4 times x squared times y to the fourth. 64 divided by 4 is 16. And we have x to the power of 6 minus 2 times y to the power of 10 minus 4. And finally, this will be 16 times x to the power of 4 times y to the power of 6. If this video helped you out, please make sure to comment, smash the like button, and subscribe for more math content.